Imagine, if you will, stepping into this ancient grove, almost electric, with forgotten power. And deep inside, there's this lone priest guarding a golden branch, his life completely tied to the world around him.
But the really striking part, the twist, is that his reign, his very life, could be ended violently by anyone who dared to pluck that specific branch.
Right. It's this incredibly dramatic, primal scene, isn't it? Shrouded in myth, it's puzzled people for ages, whispering these secrets about life, death, divinity.
Exactly. And that enigma, those whispers from Lake Nemi in Italy,
Mhm.
that's precisely where we're ending our journey today.
Okay.
This is the deep dive, and we're diving into the fourth and final chapter of our big exploration into Sir James Frazer's The Golden Bough.
The final chapter. Wow, we've covered so much ground.
We really have. We've looked deep into the sacred king, his power, his link to the land, his inevitable ritual death. But now we focus right back on the heart of the mystery that kicked this whole thing off.
The bow itself.
The bough itself. What was this golden bough? And why, crucially, did you have to pluck it before you could challenge the priest?
It feels so specific, doesn't it? Not just a detail.
Not at all. And our mission today for this final dive is to really unpack these ancient ideas about life, sacred power, and see how they, maybe surprisingly, echo across the globe even today.
We're connecting the dots, right? Between seemingly random customs.
That's the plan. From, say, Japanese emperors to puberty rites for girls. We want to uncover this fundamental human desire, this urge to understand, maybe control destiny, the Earth's bounty.
Okay, I'm ready. Expecting some aha moments, as you say.
Let's hope so. Let's just quickly loop back to the King of the Wood at Nemi. It's central, obviously.
Right, the priest king.
We established he wasn't just a figurehead. He was, in their minds, the living embodiment of the woods, the vegetation.
His health was the health of the land.
Precisely. His vigor meant nature thrived, flowers bloomed, fields were abundant. But if he declined through age, sickness, any loss of that divine energy.
Then nature withered, too. Scarcity, despair. The whole community suffered.
Exactly. It's a profound link. And that deep connection, well, it explains the grim logic behind the ritual.
We need to kill him.
Yes. To ensure the eternal renewal of the seasons, spring, summer, autumn, which they depended on, this god in human form, this sylvan deity, had to be killed while he was still vigorous.
While he was still in his prime.
Right. The idea was to transfer his undiminished life force, his power, to a strong successor before any decay set in. It seems brutal to us, obviously, but for them.
It was necessary. An act of preservation, renewal.
Absolutely. But as you said, it leaves those two big questions hanging. What was the golden bough? And why the absolute rule about plucking it first, before the challenge, before the fight?
It's the key, isn't it? The key that unlocks the whole ritual.
It seems to be. And to get at that, we need to dive into this really widespread ancient principle, the absolute need for divine or sacred people to be insulated, kept separate from the ordinary, profane world.
Insulated. How so?
Well, one of the clearest ways is this taboo against sacred individuals touching the earth. Their feet couldn't touch the ground.
Like, literally.
Literally. Take the Mikado of Japan. For him, touching the ground was a shameful degradation. Apparently in the 16th century, it was actually grounds for removing him from office.
Wow. So how did he move around?
Always carried on men's shoulders outside the palace. Inside, he only walked on special mats. Never bare earth. It wasn't just comfort. It was a constant physical statement of his separation, his divinity. He was elevated. Literally.
And this wasn't just Japan.
Oh no, it echoes everywhere. Think of the supreme pontiff of the Zapotecs in ancient Mexico. Same idea. Foot contact with the ground profaned his sanctity.
Okay.
And the king and queen of Tahiti. They could only touch the ground within their own hereditary lands. Anywhere else. Carried by sacred men.
So it's not just about being royal, it's about this sacred energy. Like, it's too potent for the ordinary world.
That seems to be the core belief, as if their power might leak out or maybe be contaminated by the mundane.
Right.
And this need for protection, this insulation, it extends to another parallel taboo, keeping sacred or vulnerable people away from direct sunlight, even the open air.
Like the Mikado again.
Yes, he wasn't supposed to expose his sacred person to the open air. The sun itself was deemed unworthy to shine on his head.
Unworthy, that's powerful language.
It really is. And think about heirs to thrones in ancient Colombia. The heir to Bogota lived in total retirement, forbidden to see the sun for years. No salt, no women either.
Years without sun.
Years. And the heir to Sogamoso, even more extreme, fasting for 7 years in total darkness before he could take the crown. These weren't just quirks. They were profound rituals of safeguarding that sacred essence.
And this extreme seclusion, it wasn't just for royalty, you mentioned.
Not at all. And this is where it gets really fascinating, I think. It was incredibly widespread for girls at puberty, which shows just how strong this belief in, well, dangerous emanated power really was.
Dangerous power at puberty.
Seems so. Look at the Hottentots in South Africa. Girls at their first menstruation had to hide from the sun, cover their heads completely. They believed they'd literally shrivel up into skeletons if the sun touched them.
Shriveled skeletons. That's terrifying.
It is. Or New Ireland. Girls confined in small, dark cages for 4 or 5 years literally couldn't set foot on the ground outside.
Cages. For years.
Yes. An eyewitness described trying to coax one girl out with beads. They had to lay down a path of wood and bamboo for her because she just could not touch the earth. The level of separation is, well, it's hard to grasp. These accounts from puberty rites, they're really quite something, often pretty harrowing. In New Guinea, Borneo, Suriname, girls faced years indoors, often in almost total darkness.
Forbidden to leave their rooms.
Strictly.
Yeah.
And the result, when they finally came out, they were often physically stunted, pale like wax. Then they go through these elaborate rituals to be newly born, sometimes smeared with blood as symbolic rebirth. Among Alaskan tribes, Koniags, Flinkeets girls, were confined for months. They had to wear these special hats with long flaps, specifically so their gaze wouldn't, as they believed, pollute the sky.
Pollute the sky with their gaze. The scope of these fears is incredible.
It really highlights this shared anxiety, doesn't it, across totally different cultures.
Yeah.
Focus on this one life stage.
And you mentioned Brazilian Indians taking it even further.
Oh, yes. It was incredibly ritualized. They'd shave the girl's hair, cut her with an animal tooth until she bled, rub ashes in the wounds,
Good grief.
then bind her hand and foot, hang her completely inside a hammock for days. No food, no water. Her feet could not touch the ground, even for basic needs. She had to be carried, always with a live coal nearby, to ward off evil.
That's extreme.
Extremely. Later, maybe slight easing, but she could only come out at night to a separate fire. Otherwise, they believed she'd get sores. It just shows the intensity of the belief. We see echoes in Hindu traditions, too. Girls kept in dark rooms, considered unclean, restricted diet, no touching.
It really shows how literally they took these taboos. You mentioned Cambodia.
Right. During her seclusion, the girl couldn't see strange men, couldn't eat certain foods. But, and this is fascinating, she was allowed out during an eclipse.
An eclipse? Why?
To pay respects to the monster they thought was causing it. It seems contradictory, but it actually underlines how specific their belief was. It was about the sun's physical effect.
Okay, that makes sense in a weird way.
And this whole idea of avoiding the sun's touch, or conversely, this idea of being impregnated by sunlight, it weaves right into folklore and legends.
Ah, yes, like princesses in towers.
Exactly. Greek tales of princesses turning into lizards if a sunbeam hits them, Tyrolese stories of being whisked away into a whale, and then, conception by a sunbeam through a keyhole or a hole scraped at a wall, like Danae in the shower of gold.
It's the sun as this tangible creative force?
Absolutely. And it even shaped real marriage customs.
Yeah.
Chaco Indians. Marriage wasn't sealed until the rising sun shone on the couple's feet. Old Hindu rites. The bride was deliberately exposed to the sun for an impregnation rite. Siberian Turks greeting the rising sun for fertility. It's all connected to this powerful, almost physical understanding of solar energy.
So underlying a lot of this, especially for the girls, is this fear you mentioned.
Yeah.
Fear of menstruous blood.
Yes. At the very heart of much of this seclusion, particularly for young women, is this primitive, pervasive dread. It wasn't just social awkwardness. It was seen as a source of incredibly powerful, dangerous pollution.
Pollution capable of real harm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Australian Aborigines warned boys that just seeing such blood would cause premature gray hair, loss of strength. Women in that state were kept apart, had to avoid men's pads, their tools, couldn't fetch water or eat fish. They thought it would frighten the fish away or spoil the hunt.
And breaking the rules?
Severe punishment. Beatings, even death in some cases.
Wow. It was taken incredibly seriously.
Think about the Bushmen. They believed a glance from a menstruating girl could literally turn men into talking trees.
Talking trees. Okay.
Or the Guayquiris of the Orinoco. Everything she stepped on would die. If a man stepped in her tracks, his legs would swell up. This polluting power, for some tribes like the Creek and Chippewa, even extended to enemies. If they killed such a woman in battle, they needed special cleansing.
Even affecting enemies.
And the lapse forbade women from fishing shores during these times. It's a really deep-seated, almost universal fear rooted in how they understood bodily fluids and their perceived magic.
And this wasn't just in primitive societies, you said. It lasted in Europe.
Astonishingly persistent, yes. Look at Pliny the Elder's natural history, basically Rome's encyclopedia. He lists all sorts of dangers from a menstruous woman's touch.
Like what?
Turning wine to vinegar, blighting crops, killing seedlings, dimming mirrors, blunting razors, rusting iron, even killing bees or causing mares to miscarry. These weren't just old wives' tales then, they were accepted facts.
Killing bees. That's specific.
Yeah, isn't it? And those beliefs echoed much later in European folklore. Beer turning sour, jam not setting, mares miscarrying, buds withering, cherry trees dying if a woman in that state came near.
So it was purely negative, this power.
Mostly, but there's a fascinating counterpoint. The ancient Greeks and Romans also thought a menstruous woman walking barefoot around a field could protect crops from insects.
Protect them.
How? By her presence, apparently. It shows the dual nature of this perceived force, potentially destructive, yes, but maybe also strangely protective in certain contexts. A power to be reckoned with, definitely.
Okay, so that brings us to the purpose of all this seclusion, this insulation. It was about neutralizing the danger.
Fundamentally, yes. Neutralizing these dangerous influences, thought to be especially strong at first menstruation, or any moment of heightened sacredness, like with the king, by keeping them away from the earth and sun.
They were kept out of the way of doing mischief, as Frazer puts it.
Exactly. Preventing them from poisoning these great sources of life, protecting the community, the world.
But it was also for their own safety, too, wasn't it?
Very much so. Zulu girls thought they'd shrivel up. Brazilian girls feared sores if they broke the rules. The underlying idea is that this person girl or divine king is charged with a powerful force.
Almost like electricity.
Sort of. Not inherently good or bad, but potentially destructive if not kept within bounds, managed carefully. Hence the insulation. This powerful, potentially dangerous life force is safest when it's suspended.
Suspended between the two, heaven and earth.
Precisely. Neither fully grounded nor fully exposed. In that controlled, liminal space.
And that idea between heaven and earth, that leads us somewhere specific, doesn't it?
It leads us directly to the Norse god Balder. His myth is maybe the most famous, most poignant example of this very concept in European lore.
Balder the Beautiful.
Right. He started having bad dreams, foretelling his death. So his mother, the goddess Frigg, undertook this massive task. She got oaths from everything. Fire, water, metal, stones, earth, trees, sicknesses, poisons, animals, birds. Everything swore not to harm Balder.
An oath from everything. That's quite the undertaking.
Immense. And once it was done, the gods thought he was invincible. They'd amused themselves using him for target practice arrows, axes, stones. Nothing hurt him.
Fun times in Asgard.
Apparently. Until Loki, the trickster, got involved. He disguised himself, found out Frigg's won a mission.
There's always one loophole.
Always. She hadn't bothered with the mistletoe. It seemed too young, too insignificant to swear an oath.
Uh-oh.
Exactly. Loki immediately made an arrow from mistletoe, found the blind god Hoder, guided his hand, and Balder fell dead, killed by the one thing that hadn't sworn.
Wow. Just like that.
The grief was immense. His body placed on his huge ship, Ringhorn, his wife Nanna dying of sorrow and joining him on the pyre, along with his horse. It's such a vivid, detailed story. It almost feels remembered, not just invented.
Yeah, it has that weight to it.
And that feeling, that circumstantiality, the detail, the emotion, Frazer argues, and it's compelling that it suggests the myth isn't just a story. It's more like a record, a simple transcript of a ceremony that people once performed or witnessed.
A myth explaining a ritual.
Exactly. And that leads us straight to the European fire festivals, which look remarkably like Balder's funeral pyre acted out.
These festivals, they were ancient, right? Pre-Christian.
Very ancient. We can trace them back through the Middle Ages, see links to antiquity. Church synods were trying to ban them as heathenish rites way back in the 8th century, so they were clearly old pagan customs deeply ingrained.
And what happened at these festivals?
Common elements everywhere. Huge bonfires, dancing, leaping over the flames, and crucially burning effigies. Sometimes Frazer notes, even a pretense of burning a living person.
A pretense. Suggesting
that originally, maybe people were actually sacrificed in these fires.
Yeah.
Linking back to the sacred king idea again.
Chilling. And these were tied to the seasons.
Absolutely. Tied to the agricultural cycle. Early spring, Lent time. In Germany's Eifel region, they'd burn a straw man in a hut, watch the smoke for harvest omens, or roll big burning straw wheels downhill, mimicking the sun.
Imitating the sun. Okay.
In Swabia, they burned a figure called the witch, or winter's grandmother. Young folk threw blazing wooden discs, notched like suns or stars, high in the air, and then the key-link charred bits from the witch, or the discs, were planted in flax fields to keep vermin away. Fire, purification, fertility.
It's a very direct magic.
Very. Then Easter Eve. Catholic tradition has extinguishing lights, making a new fire, lighting the Easter candle. This mirrors older pagan rites.
How so?
In Germany, they'd light bonfires with this new fire near churches. People charred sticks, oak, walnut, beech, took them home, burned them in their own hearth, praying for protection from fire, lightning, hail.
Practical magic.
And agricultural, too.
Yes.
Sticks placed in fields against blight, ashes mixed with seed. In Münsterland, they'd march sunwise around Easter fires on hills. Yeah. Girls jumped over the embers for purification. Boys ran with blazing straw bundles to fumigate the fields for fertility. Similar things all over Holland, Bavaria, even burning squirrels or bones in some fires, maybe representing pests or spirits.
Right. And then May Day, Beltane.
Beltane, yes. Especially big in the Scottish Highlands. People gathered on hills, cut a trench around a turf platform for the fire. And the fire wasn't just lit. It was kindled with teen-eigen need fire.
Need fire.
Force fire. Generated by friction, usually rubbing wood, often oak, together. Primal, pure fire. All other fires in the community had to be put out first. This need fire was thought to have huge power against witchcraft, disease in people and cattle, even changing poisons.
Wow. And the Beltane cake. That sounds ominous.
It is. Oatmeal cake, toasted, divided up. One piece deliberately blackened with charcoal. Everyone draws a piece, maybe blindfolded. Whoever gets the black piece is the Beltane Carline, the hag, basically. And they were symbolically chosen for sacrifice. To Baal, a fertility god, to ensure the land's productivity, they'd make a show of pretending to throw the person in the fire, pelt them with eggshells, call them dead for the whole year.
Just a pretense by them, but pointing back.
Exactly. Pointing back very strongly to actual human sacrifice for fertility, followed by prayers for a good harvest, a vivid echo of a much darker past.
And midsummer, that was the biggest one.
Generally the most widespread, most solemn.
Right.
Summer solstice, June 23rd or 24th. 3 key features: bonfires, carrying torches or firebrands, and dancing.
And the purpose. Still fertility and purification.
Universally, yes. Purify people, animals, avert disease, promote crops. Some believe flax grew as high as they leaped over the fire, charred sticks from the fire put in the flax fields to make it happen.
Direct sympathetic magic again.
Absolutely. Bohemia had burning cartwheels rolled down hills. France, Tyrol, England, carrying torches over fields, orchards to bless apples, fumigate corn. Ireland had striking customs, passing children and cattle through the fires for protection, carrying live coals to cornfields against blight.
Passing children through fire.
A lead to protect them. Slavonic and Baltic regions, fire by friction, driving cattle through the smoke and ashes against witchcraft and disease. Even Southern Europe, Greece, Italy, women jumping over fires crying, "I leave my sins behind me," throwing incense for fruit trees. These were vital, communal, magical events.
And the effigies weren't just straw men. Sometimes they burned animals.
Yes. Effigies first. Rottenburg, Germany. They beheaded the angel man, a straw figure covered in flowers, burned it. Boys hacked at it with swords, leaped over the fire. Tyrol, Russia. Straw figures of winter spirits or gods like Kostroma or Yarilo burned or drowned.
Okay, symbolic, but live animals.
That's the grimmer part. Luchon in the Pyrenees. A tall wicker column stuffed with fuel, then live serpents, sometimes a fox, thrown in and burned. Apparently the crowd loved it, and local tradition even called it heathen.
Live serpents.
Paris too, believe it or not. On the Place de Grève, they ritually burned a basket or sack full of live cats, sometimes a fox in the midsummer fires. People collected the embers for good luck.
Live cats.
Yeah.
In Paris.
Shocking, isn't it? Metz, parts of Russia, burned cats or a white cock. The interpretation. Probably these animals were originally representatives, embodiments of spirits, maybe harmful ones, before the meaning faded. And they just substituted, well, noxious animals. The cruelty, perhaps, masking the forgotten significance.
So how do we pull all this together? What did these fire festivals mean?
Well, one major interpretation is sun charms. The main goal was to magically help the sun, supply the sun with fresh fire, bring sunshine, warmth, rolling the burning wheel down the hill, clearly imitating the sun, magically compelling it.
And the need fire, the friction.
That reinforces the idea. Using wood friction, especially oak, to make new fire, it's primitive, magical, about harnessing and renewing that solar power. Not just lighting a fire, connecting to the source.
And the fertility aspect, leaping high, the embers in the fields.
Pure sympathetic magic produces light. The direction of the smoke, the height of the flames, the heat itself, They didn't just predict good harvests, they were thought to cause them. The fire acted like concentrated sunshine on the crops.
And the burning effigies. The angel man, the witch.
That points to burning the spirit of vegetation itself. Burning this spirit in a fire representing the sun was thought to directly infuse the crops with vital energy. For them, any suffering involved was just a necessary accident to achieve renewal. It looks like a mitigated survival of actual human sacrifice, the symbol replacing the reality over time.
And we know actual human sacrifice happened.
We have direct evidence, yes, from the Celts, recorded by Caesar, Posidonius, Strabo, Diodorus. Grim stuff.
What did they record?
Every 5 years, criminals or war captives sacrificed to the gods. They believed more victims meant more fertility for the land. The druids, the priests, shot them, impaled them, or crucially burned them alive in colossal wickerwork figures.
Quicker giants, filled with people and animals.
Exactly. Filled with live men and animals, then set ablaze. These giants, representing the tree spirit or vegetation spirit, actually have echoes in later European professions. Giant figures paraded in towns like Douai in Belgium or historically in England, sometimes still burned. It connects the ancient horror to later customs.
Which loops us back to Balder.
Perfectly. The detailed, almost eyewitness feel of Balder's myth makes chilling sense if it's explaining a ceremony of burning a tree spirit in effigy, or maybe once in person, just like in these fire festivals. The myth is the story of the ritual.
Okay, so Balder, the fire festivals, how does the oak and mistletoe fit back in?
Right. This is where it all connects to the Golden Bough. Pliny's account of the Druids is key. He said they held the mistletoe and the oak it grew on as most sacred, did nothing ritually without oak leaves. He even thought Druid came from their oak worship.
So the oak was central to the Druids.
Absolutely. And how they harvested mistletoe? Incredibly solemn. It was rare, gathered with ceremony, specifically in the 6th month June, midsummer.
Midsummer again.
Exactly. A priest in white robes climbed the oak, used a golden sickle to cut it, caught it in a white cloth, couldn't touch the ground, remember the insulation.
It keeps coming back.
Victims were sacrificed. The mistletoe itself was believed to make barren animals fertile, be an antidote to all poisons, the all-healer. And folklore confirms, mistletoe should be cut on Midsummer Eve. Even things like oil of St. John from oak leaves, probably originally mistletoe.
So if the midsummer fires echo Balder's pyre.
Then, as Jacob Grimm hinted, Balder seems to be the Norse version of the being burned of those fires. A tree spirit. The spirit of vegetation.
And if it's a tree spirit, which tree?
All signs point to the oak. It was the supreme sacred tree for pretty much all major Aryan groups in Europe. Celts, Slavs, chief god at remove. Germans, chief god linked to oak. Ancient Italians, sacred above all. Greeks, Zeus worshipped in the sacred oak at Dodona.
Overwhelming evidence for the oak.
Suggests the original Aryan homeland was maybe in oak forests, and oak was linked to sacred fire. Need fire often used oak. Perpetual fires, like at Remove, fed with oak. German peasants still use oak for midsummer fires. Ashes help crops. The Greek Tadala festival involves felling and burning an oak.
So if a man was burned in those fires as the tree spirit,
Given the oak's importance, he must have represented the oak. The sacred oak was burned in duplicate the wood itself and its human personification. This dual burning, real or symbolic, was about renewing its life force.
okay. Oak spirit burned. Where does the mistletoe come in?
As the oak's external soul, this is the crucial insight.
The external soul. How?
Think about it from a primitive perspective. You see mistletoe, green and alive, on a bare, seemingly dead oak in winter. It must have looked like the oak's life, its soul, had retreated into the mistletoe for safety.
Okay. The life survives in the parasite.
Exactly. So just like Balder was invulnerable until the mistletoe is used, the oak, and its human double, the king, was thought invulnerable as long as its sacred heart, the mistletoe, was untouched.
So plucking the mistletoe.
Was both the signal and the direct cause of the oak spirit's death. It broke the spell, made it vulnerable.
And why Golden Bough? Just the color.
Partly, maybe. Some mistletoe has yellowish berries, can look golden. But Virgil calls it all golden stem and leaves. It aligns with the Welsh tree of pure gold, and maybe with the mythical fern seed or fern-bloomed folklore says that glows like fire or gold and is gathered at solstices.
Like a piece of the sun.
That's the idea, an emanation of the sun's fire, a tangible bit of solar power which the rituals aim to harness. And its position growing high up, not from the ground, reinforces that safety idea between heaven and earth where the oak spirit could hide its life. Being the all-healer just adds to its mystical power.
A symbol of external life and concentrated power.
Precisely. which brings us right back full circle to Nemi.
The final connection.
Virgil's description is key. Golden bough on an oak compared to mistletoe. The king of the wood at Nemi was the personification of the oak spirit.
So his life was in the mistletoe, the golden bough.
That's the argument. His life, his death, bound to that bough in the sacred oak. To kill him, you have to break the bough first, maybe even throw it at him, like the mistletoe arrow for Balder.
And the fire festivals, did they happen at Nemi?
Highly probable. The perpetual fire in the grove, likely fed by sacred oak wood, suggests an annual midsummer fire festival right there. It's likely the king of the wood was originally burned, dead or alive, in that fire each year.
So he escaped the fire only to fall by the sword later.
That seems to be the later development. The rule, allowing him to live as long as he could defend himself, extended his tenure, but the core ritual, the link to the oak and the bough, remained.
So Nemi, the Celts, Balder, all variations on the same theme?
Pretty much a primitive Aryan oak worship. The supreme god's life tied to the mistletoe, the golden bough. The king of the wood was an incarnation of that very god.
Le roi est mort, vive le roi.
Right.
The king is dead, long live the king. It perfectly captures that cycle of death and renewal.
Wow, that ties it all together incredibly tightly. The oak, the sun, the external soul, and the mistletoe.
It's a remarkable synthesis Frazer builds.
And this concept of the external soul, it seems so central, not just to the golden bough, but popping up everywhere. It deserves a closer look itself, doesn't it? Absolutely. It's not just a quirky myth element. It's a genuine, deeply held primitive belief that spawned countless real customs. The core idea, your soul, your life force, can be put somewhere safe outside your body, or even in your hair.
Why do that? Seems risky.
Like putting money in a bank instead of carrying it all, safer than keeping it in the vulnerable body, especially in dangerous times, war, sorcery attacks. It's about perceived control.
And it's everywhere in folktales, you said.
Everywhere. A truly global motif, the standard plot, a bad guy, warlock, giant, whatever, is invincible because his soul is hidden somewhere else. The hero, often helped by a princess, finds the secret, destroys the external soul, and boom, the villain drops dead instantly.
Okay, give us some examples. Where is this found?
Oh, all over. India, Punchkin the magician, soul in a parrot, an ogre's soul in a bird in a cage on a guarded tree. So Dewa buys life in a golden necklace. Dalen's in a fish.
A parrot, a necklace, a fish.
Okay, Siam, Cambodia. King Tasakin's soul in a box kept by a hermit. Sometimes it's a life tree or plant. A Bengali prince's life tied to a tree in the courtyard. Another Indian tale, life in a barley plant.
Even plants.
Or mythical things. A fairy king's soul in snow dies by fire. Ancient Greece. Meleager's life in the burning log. Nisus' strength in his special hair. Enchanters' lives hidden in doves inside a boar or birds or a serpent.
It's incredibly varied. What about Europe?
Slavonic tales are full of it. Koshchei the Deathless. His soul is famously in an egg, in a duck, in a hare, in a casket, under an oak. An enchantress's life in a blue rose tree. A warlock's strength in an egg, in a duck, and a stag. A dragon's in a pigeon, in a boar, layer upon layer.
Koshchei the Deathless. Sounds familiar. Teutonic tales.
The same thing. Witches' lives as lights and eggs hidden in ducks, ponds, mountains. Cannibal Solus, his soul in a box on a rock in the Red Sea. A giant's heart famously absent, hidden in an egg, in a duck, in a well, in a church on an island. It's a quest to find it. Jester's life in a candle.
The patterns are so similar. Celtic stories, too.
Absolutely steeped in it. Irish and Breton tales. Giant souls and eggs and ducks and rams under flagstones and sea beasts. One giant soul has this incredibly complex chain. Egg, pigeon, hare, wolf, then incredibly inside his brother. Or body without soul, life in an egg, dove, hare, wolf, iron chest at sea. The hero has to dismantle the chain.
Inside his brother, that's intricate. And outside Europe.
Definitely. It proves it's not just an Indo-European thing. Ancient Egypt, tale of two brothers, around 1300 BC. Batu's heart is in an acacia flower, then a berry. Life returns when the berry's put in water.
1300 BC, that's ancient.
Arabian Nights. Ginny's soul in a sparrow inside multiple boxes in chests and a marble coffer in the ocean. Cabell tales, Magyar, Samoyed, Tartar. Souls in beetles, snakes in shoe soles, golden swords, arrows. Malay stories. Bidasari's soul in a golden fish, Nias Island. The king's life bound to a single super hard hair on his head. It's truly universal.
Okay, so it's clear in stories, but people actually believed this, enough to base customs on it.
Yes, that's the crucial next step. It wasn't just stories. It shaped real practices. Sometimes it was temporary soul storage during danger.
Like the bank analogy.
Exactly. In celibates, a priest would collect family souls in a bag when they moved into a new house, considered supernaturally risky, then give them back later. Or, during childbirth, a piece of iron might represent the woman's soul, kept safe by the doctor.
Wow. And hair. You mentioned hair.
Very common belief. Malayan cultures, saram. Hair is seen as containing soul or strength. Cutting it could weaken or kill. Remember those Indian murderers confessing only when their hair was threatened? It was a spiritual threat, not just physical.
Okay. And the links to trees and plants.
Deeply ingrained. In Bengus in Africa, Cameroons, Papuans, a child's life genuinely believed to be tied to a specific tree. If the tree dies, the child dies.
That's a heavy burden for a tree.
It is.
Yeah.
Maoris buried the navel string, planted a sapling over it. The tree's health was the child's health, a literal sign of life. Southern Celebes, Bali planting a coconut or flower at birth, symbolizing the child's life.
And even in Europe, planting birth trees.
Right. Russia, Germany, England, France, Italy. Apple for a boy, pear for a girl in Switzerland. The belief, maybe subconscious now, is still there. The child flourishes or fades with the tree. Remember Lord Byron in his oak? He truly believes his life was tied to it.
And persistent. What about animals or objects?
Same idea. Emperor Romanus believed the Bulgarian Prince Simeon's life was tied to a column capital. Removing it killed Simeon. Karens of Burma link a child's life to the knife used to cut the navel string. Banks Islanders have a tamaniu, an animal or stone intimately linked to them. Its death means their death.
Which sounds a lot like totemism.
Exactly. Frazer sees totemism as basically a large-scale external soul system. Zulus. Each man has an ilozi, a guardian serpent. If it dies, he dies. Central American Indians. The nagual, usually an animal, mirrors a person's life. If the nagual dies, the person dies.
Australian tribes.
A classic example. Each sex or clan linked to an animal or plant their brother or sister. They won't kill it. It suggests each person's life is bound up with some individual of that species. Killing a totem animal is thought to kill someone from that totem group. And the Baddis of Sumatra make it explicit. They believe everyone has multiple souls, one always outside the body. Destroy that external soul, the person dies instantly. It connects totemism directly to the external soul idea.
And people kept this secret.
Intensely secret, just like the giants in the fairy tales. Because if a sorcerer found out where your soul was hidden, it meant death. That fear explains why these beliefs were so hard for outsiders to uncover.
Okay, that makes sense. So how does this connect to those initiation rites you mentioned, the feigned death and resurrection?
It provides a powerful explanation. The purpose of those dramatic, often terrifying puberty rites could be to extract the youth's old soul and transfer it to his totem animal or plant, creating a new, powerful identity.
So the death is the soul leaving.
And the recovery, or rebirth, is a new life infused from the totem. He symbolically dies as a man and gets to life again as an animal, identifying completely with his totem. It's a total transformation.
Can you give examples of that?
Plenty. Australian tribes. Thremlin, the being who kills and restores boys. The bull roarer's hum being wizards swallowing and rebirthing them. An old man lying in a grave, then springing up. Fijian lads shown rows of dead men who then leap up. It's all theatrical enactment of death and rebirth.
Very dramatic. Africa, too.
Yes. Then demo rites in Congo.
Sure.
Initiates fall into a death-like state, taken away for months or years, then brought back to life. They pretend not to know anyone, how to eat, like they've returned from the spirit world, get a new name. Kwuja's belly paro initiation, explicitly told they suffer death, get a spirit quite different.
And the Virginia Indians?
Huskana, that's maybe the most striking. Youths drink intoxicating roots, go raving mad, lose all memory of their past lives, parents, language, everything. They have to unlive their former lives, commence men by forgetting they ever have been boys. A complete psychological wipe and reboot.
Incredible. And North America?
Similar things. Candidates struck dead by a chief's medicine bag, then revived. Feigned deaths with pistol shots. Buried tribesmen resurrected. New Guinea, New Britain. Disguised men swallow boys who creep between their legs and later disgorge them. Initiates get a terrible blow meant to kill them. Halmahera Saram's Kakian Association. Boys blindfolded led to a dark shed, hideous noise, devil's chopping sound, bloody sword thrust through roof, head cut off. Stay in dark days, smeared yellow, swallowed by devil, tattooed. Return tottering, enter backwards, use signs, retaught everything, new name, new identity.
It's brutal, but the pattern is clear. Symbolic death, transformation, rebirth, linked to a new power or identity, likely the totem.
Exactly. And we see faint traces even in civilized societies. The Brahmin, twice born after initiation, pretense of killing in Mithraic mysteries. The timing purity strongly suggests the perceived danger or power surge comes with sexual maturity, maybe linking back to the origins of marriage, social structure around fertility.
Okay. So, bringing this whole massive deep dive on the Golden Bough to a close, we've really woven together these threads, haven't we? Balder, Nemi, the fire festivals, the external soul.
It all converges on this ancient Aryan belief system.
Yeah.
The sacred oak, the sun, ritual death, and rebirth for renewal. And the Golden Bough stands out now, not as poetry, but as this potent symbol of externalized life tied to divinity and the seasons.
It's amazing how these customs, separated by time and space, reveal this coherent picture of ancient thought. And for our final point, you mentioned exploring one last aspect, the offering of first fruits.
Yes, as a final note that perfectly ties into these themes of renewal, gratitude, and our connection to the earth's bounty. It bridges that gap between eating something sacramentally and offering it as a sacrifice of thanks.
First fruits, so the first part of the harvest.
Exactly. And the belief evolved. Early on, primitive people might have eaten the new corn sacramentally, believing the divine spirit was in the corn itself. Later, it shifted to a thank offering to the gods, or the divine king, who were seen as providing the harvest.
And there was a rule about not eating it first.
Universally, you couldn't just partake of the new crops until the first fruits had been properly ritually offered. It's like a sacred contract.
Where do we see this?
All over. Africa. Basutos boiling new grain, throwing handfuls, saying, "Thank you, gods, give us bread tomorrow also,"
Eh.
leaving some as thanks. Strict taboos on who could touch it before the ritual. Ashanti. King eats the new yams first at the harvest festival. Nobody else can until the festival ends, a time of grossest liberty, interestingly.
Okay, Madagascar, Burma.
Hovas of Madagascar presenting first sheaves to the sovereign. Burma. Nobody eats the pengadi fruit before the king does. He's the mediator. Widespread. Offerings to ancestors, or gods like Singbonga or Chitaria Gosai, their Ceres figure, before eating new rice. Sacrifices of goats follow alongside. First sugarcane offered to the sugarcane god. First cotton picked, exchanged for salt, kept as a charm.
East Indies, Pacific.
Elaborate festivals everywhere. Jumba, diaks, slabs, rice offerings, sacred stones sprinkled with blood, food laid out. Whole villages taboo during paddy feasts. Mock figures of ancestors honored, first fruits offered to ancestors, feeding the dead, or guardian spirits, matmate, in skulls or images. Oil from offerings used for healing, Philippines, offerings to Anitos, ancestor souls, in pots or miniature houses. Pacific Islands, Fiji, Tana, Samoa, Tahiti, Easter Island, Maoris first, yams, fish, fruit offered to ancestors or gods like Tani or Makemake. In Fiji, yams piled in the sacred place and just left to rot as an offering. Chief as high priest. Sometimes priests claimed the offerings.
Even Europe had traces.
Old Prussians offered to their god Kircho. Romans had the Sacrament. And a great example, the Natchez Indians in North America, their annual festival of the Great Sun.
What happened there?
Chief, Great Sun, purified, fasted. All old fires extinguished. New sacred fire kindled from oak bark renewal, purity again. People brought bundles of new corn sheaves, some offered at the altar, some for unleavened bread, offerings presented to the setting sun, then a night of feasting and revelry, sacred duty and community celebration combined. So this whole journey through the Golden Bough, it's really been something, hasn't it? It shows this profound, persistent human drive across cultures, across time, to understand and influence life, death, renewal.
From killing kings to blessing harvests.
Exactly. Our relationship with the divine, with nature, it's etched in these rituals that still echo, still shape how we think about existence.
So the final provocative thought then. What does this deep, enduring need for ritual, for connection, for making meaning, what does it tell us about ourselves, even now?
Maybe it's a reminder that beneath all our modern layers, there's this fundamental human core that seeks order, seeks meaning, seeks some way to connect with, perhaps even influence the great, often predictable forces around us. Something to reflect on.
Definitely something to reflect on. Join us next time for another deep dive into the fascinating currents of human knowledge.